Hello everyone and welcome to another video today. This time we're here for some tour highlights of the LMP3 Cup. The first races of the season at Donington Park. And here we are in qualifying. And leading up to this event, I was looking forward to it. The league racing back and going again. It's been, since December, since we've last done anything. So a good month and a half away. So we're here now. We did a bank lap earlier in the session. And here's basically our fast lap of the qualifying session. And the car felt really different to drive in this session. Unusually, I was very surprised by how different it felt compared to practice. I know each session the game and the actual track changes, so in some ways it's kind of different every single session you go into. So I tried to nail the setup as much as I could to make it as good as it could be. But it was very weird throughout the session. The car changed a lot and it was different. So heading into turn 1 now, we're in third gear, hitting the apex relatively well, not running it too wide. If you're running it too wide, you're just going to spin up the rear tyres and you're going to spin off the circuit, which is not what you want to do. And now heading down here, really fun section here, down in the fourth gear and turning it in pretty nicely, not running it too wide again. That sort of the gravel stuff will really slow you down and that will lose lap time. Now heading into the right hander now, just before the braking zone, braking point, that's what braking board, it's third gear. And then it's pretty good, looking pretty smooth so far. And here there's no braking board there for me, so I had a guess, and it went relatively okay. A little bit wide, could have been a bit more tighter, but you may use it for the road now. And now the last chicane, a pretty dreaded set of corners for me. And brake as late as you can on that braking board, down into third gear, hitting it well, not too aggressively, and now running it to the line now. And across the line we go, and it's a 1 minute 1.059. That was half a tenth slower than our teammate EVR Burnout. EVR Cal and our other teammate is in P4, and that was a pretty good lap for me. But then I decided to go out later on in the session to try and see if I can go faster. And the weirdest thing happened for me. I had a bit of a glitch with the wheel. It basically fell all over the place, and I went out on the circuit and I had no lock. Basically, I couldn't. I had to get out of the way of people, and obviously I got the way of people pretty well. Turning it in here, I had no feel. There was no feedback. I couldn't feel anything, and the amount of turn, you can see the difference between the amount of turning I'm putting in. It just felt horrible. It was ridiculous turning in here, and it just felt disgusting. It really felt badly. So it felt bad. So that was that. Aid, I think, had a glitched lap time, which meant he was about a second ahead of us. Probably he would have been on the same. He said that he would have been on the same sort of pace, or just about quicker than us. So for us, we were pretty happy with that pace. Only half a tenth down on Burnout for my first competitive races on the wheel for the first time, and that was really good for us. We made it into the Lobby A as well, which put us P3 in Lobby A, which is fantastic to be in, and fantastic start to sort of the first competitive races with the wheel. I'm still very new to this, still a lot to learn, and these races taught me a lot about the wheel and everything. So here we go for race 1. We're on the grid. We're going to go through a formation period. We're just going to try and line up and everything. And I think Aid had a problem with his wheel prior to this, so he had to reset the wheel during this session. We had to wait for him, and then our tyres got colder and stuff like that, which is natural. But it shouldn't have gained much of an effect. But on the formation lap, I was feeling the wheel, and it felt off. It really felt off. And I think there's actually been a problem with the G920 on this game since day 1. So the feeling wasn't great. Got a bit of a hit from just too many there. I don't know. Perhaps it was me, but I've tried to slow down for the guys ahead of us. But we're going racing now, as you can see. We're going to try and go into turn 1. We'll be very cautious. Don't want to push it too hard at the inside, just too many. And we're on the inside. We get the move done into P3, back to where we were. We're in the slipstream of both Burnout and Aid here. And on cold tyres with slipstream, these cars feel like horrible. And turning in here, I just couldn't turn in. It just didn't give it. The car wasn't doing anything, so I had to take avoiding action, try and not kill anybody, going back on the circuit. So that was really irritating, and I couldn't feel basically the car. I think for the first stint of the race, the wheel was really off. It felt bad. Could have been a mixture of tyre temperature, but generally I didn't have much feedback. Bit concerning, really. But I know this has been a constant issue with the G920 as someone else is off there as well. So we're down in the order then to P7. But reasonably, I felt like pretty confident that I could get back in the order again and try and challenge the top 5. I felt that was a realistic aim for me, if I could just be consistent enough. And I felt these races really helped me and really helped me understand about consistency. And still that's the initial pace, the the outboard pace, the actual initial pace, our pace on one lap is pretty good. Our pace is not bad, but it's just consistency of a race distance and being able to manage yourself. That's quite challenging on a wheel because you have to be so accurate. We've got just too many behind us, and this is where I was just disgusted, really. That corner, really, one man can go through it. He tried going for a move on the inside. He was a car length back, as you can see, into the braking zone, and he lunges it on the inside. Yes, there's space there, but really, if you're going to cut that inside corner, you just got to go straight off on the other side, on the exit. He's just going to go straight off, and his us round. I feel personally that in that moment, I was like, yeah, that was pretty harsh from him. He said to me in the pie that I should be looking in my mirrors, but for me, he was a car left back going into the braking zone, and he was still a car left back on the initial bit of the braking, and really, he should never have gone for that. At the early part of the race, there's no need to go for moves like that, in my opinion, and he's actually a real racing driver in real life, so I was very surprised by that. Arguably, you could say I could have turned in later, but that corner is such a design of it that you have to turn in. You have to turn in at some point. I had to turn in at some point, and before the braking zone, he was a car length back. So as someone like me, I'm thinking, well, I'm the car ahead. I'm gonna control the line, and I'm gonna be and that's gonna be my line and the car ahead. But he just goes for a move there, which really wasn't on, because someone was gonna get taken out in that instance, whether that be him or me. And unfortunately, it was me. So I span round. I tried to be as consistent as possible. And this part of the race, I started getting into the groove of things. Car felt really good to drive. I was starting to pick up the consistency a little bit, and I was determined to get back up the front again and get right with the battle. And I still felt that top 5 was achievable, but really luck wasn't on our side there. I'm not gonna point fingers. For me, I personally felt it was kind of a rash move from him at the early point of the race, and I felt that really that move wasn't on. I think it was more of a racing incident in a sense. It was a lack of judgment, and there, look, I spin it there. I was braking and turning, and the car went on me, and that was my fault. That was definitely my fault. I just didn't. Again, the first stint of the race, the car didn't feel very good to drive whatsoever, which is just annoying. But that's the way it is. That's racing. We live and learn. And for my first competitive race on the wheel, you learn, and there you go. It goes again. And again, yeah, it's just the story of that middle part of the race, really, where I think just the car felt really off, and that was really annoying. But we're just gonna continue marching on, and what for me, it was very easy to say, I'm gonna quit this race and quit out of it. But that's not really how you should be being able to do. This was a very good learning experience for me to understand, just the feeling of the car and the race trim. Learning how to be consistent throughout the race. You have to drive really differently in the race than you do in qualifying, because in qualifying you can push it, you can turn it in nicely, but here you have to be really smooth, mainly because the soft tyres are quite brittle to kind of being overheated, and that's kind of one of those things that I wanted to avoid. I didn't want to put up my tyres in this race. The softs lasted for quite a long time. I was very surprised with them, and they performed very well. I was really good, but there was sort of parts in this race where the consistency was there, it was really strong, and I felt that those early mistakes, those early things that happened, those early instances, could have been avoided if we do have fast enough the race there at 101.760. So, the pace is there in the race. We're just managing it here, just trying to be consistent, and I wanted to just come home with some good points for the team at this point. That's all I can do. Any points, we contribute to the race count, and we're going to try and get up the inside of touring here, which we do get done, and it lets go on us again. So, yeah, and he gets collected in it, and that's a big upset for him. That was completely my fault. That was my fault. I spun it. Arguably, it shouldn't have gone like that, but it just did, and that was my mistake on my front again. And I did apologise to him in the pie. So if he's watching this now, I do apologise, man. Just rookie error really at this point, and not good. But coming to the pits now, so a pit stop, we're going to change some tyres, and the strategy was that we're going to change some tyres and get on a fresh set of softs. For me, I had them to lose. Arguably, you could just splashed and dashed it, where you just put in fuel, put a little bit of fuel in, and you go again. But I wanted to change tyres. I thought that perhaps with the amount of spins I had, I wasn't going to have the good pace on that soft tyre. So I pitted, bottled a new set of softs on again, and away we go. once again for the race, putting a bit of repairing damage we have, and off we go. So, yeah, right now, just again, for me, this race was kind of like a practice session, just going round and round and round, just trying to understand and just trying to get some consistency going. Because I knew in race 2 things were possible in race 2, and there's more of a chance for a better result. You know, for me, it was important to finish the race instead of just quitting out of it. Mainly to score the points for the team, and to also just getting some knowledge for myself and gain and just know, you know, what exactly I need to do in the next race and for the future. You know, it gives me more track experience, more track time, to get used to things in race trim. So that's the idea, but that's basically what I try to do. I did try and practice a lot on race trim in practice. I did a little bit of that, but I didn't do enough of it. I did a lot of focus was actually on 1 lap pace, and the guy ahead of us, DSL Rapidz, he came up in front of us. He was a lap ahead of us. I let him go. There was no point me overtaking him because he's just going to get me back. So I lifted off and let him go, and he realised that he did say thank you to me. And yeah, at this point, just going around, being consistent, and I made 0 mistakes in the second stint. The second stint, the car felt fantastic, the drive, and which is very strange. I had the wheel felt good, the drive, it was really good. I really enjoyed driving it in the second stint. Perhaps the something to do that we need to focus on, perhaps, is the early opening stints of the races. Dirty air, you learn a lot of dirty air around here, but yeah, just unfortunate really. But we've got some good points on the hards for us. That's the main thing, you know. The points for the team is I'm racing for the team, not for myself in this instance, and I wanted to perform and get the points home. I could have quit easily for my own head, but you know, what do I gain out of that? But this, I think, is the last couple of laps of the race here, and we're just running it off. We're going to be in P7, and P7 is good points. You know, it's only 10 points difference to P1, so it's not as if I lose a lot of points. So to be honest, it's kind of like good points to come home with, and to be in lobby, yeah, I got to look at it in some ways. I was very depressed after the race because I really worked hard to get myself to a good standard on the wheel to be competitive enough for this esports championship, and you know, that's kind of, I worked really hard and I didn't get the results that I felt I deserved. I felt top 5s were possible in both races. But, you know, again, it just, in my slight experience, I've only been doing this for 6 weeks on the wheel. So there's still a lot to learn, and over time I'll get better and better. But the pace that I showed on 1 lap is really good, and it's strong, but we need to focus on race pace perhaps as well. But I think this is the last lap of the race here. We did do about a lap that time around, which is pretty good, really impressive. We're doing some good pace here. And I think that was touring ahead of us. So I was trying to chase him down. He looked like he was a bit slow. So I was trying to hold out for perhaps a strong finish here, perhaps a P6. But I think we were just a lap too less. I think we could have had an extra lap. Perhaps we had more of a go. But I was pushing it hard, but making sure that I was coming home with a good result in the end, and that's really what I cared about. I think A's going to come home to win the race, which was fantastic from him. He drove a really good race. I think him and Burnout were up front. Burnout was fantastic in this race. I think it was a strategy really where it was won. I think Burnout learned from it in race 2, as you will see later. But coming to the line now, come home in P7 in our first competitive race on the wheel, and I'll take it. You know, it's kind of good points. I wasn't happy with the race, and I was very angry and infuriated by it. But we live and we learn. We continue on, and we had another race coming up pretty short after. These are 2 40-minute races, but I believe they're changing the format for these now, and we're doing a 1 40-minute race and a 20-minute race, a 20-minute sprint for the second race. So they're shorting it down because I think fatigue and stuff. So we came out P7. I was relatively okay. Aid won it. Fantastic from TM. They were really on it, and Burnout, our teammate, in second place. So good points for us from the start in the first round. That was pretty good. But moving on to round 2, I couldn't record the whole race because I did actually stream, but it didn't stream in the end. I don't know why. I did remember streaming it. So these are just kind of high quality Xbox snaps I did record. I noticed that it wasn't recording the stream when I was in the race, but I just kind of recorded the last 5 minutes before the pit stop and towards the end of the race. What I can tell you about the race is that at the start we had a good start. We were running top 5. And I think actually got 4th at one point, so that was really strong. We'll come back through the field. We were behind Cal, so I think he was in P3, and Banner was in P2. And we were doing a really good job at that point. And then I think I span it behind Callum, which meant that I had to come through the field again. And I came through the field. I was this is basically the point where I was coming through the field, just before the stops, and then we're behind Weber's here, and I think he had just pitted there. He had just pitted at that point, so I was behind him, and I was just trying to keep with him. I felt that my pace was on par with him in terms of race pace, but I made more mistakes than him. But the car felt much better in race 2 than in race 1, which is really unusual. This is obviously later on in the day. It's I think it's 4 p.m. start. And the car felt much better, it felt like the car, on the initial laps as well, the car felt much better to drive, turning was better, everything was better, and that's kind of telling me that it's due to tyre warm-up. Really stone cold tyres in the first lap on heavy fuel might have been the reason why I was struggling so much on the initial laps at Donington, perhaps. But they will feel very off in the first race. But here in race 2, the car felt really good to drive, no wheel issues, no turn-in problems, and things kind of hooked up for me in a good way. We're running the slipstream here as well, as you can notice. That also was giving me making me learn a lot as well, just understanding how the car performs in the slipstream. It does understeer a bit more, but for me it was good to understand a little bit of oversteer there on the exit as well. It's good to understand how the car performs and how it kind of the characteristics of the car in dirty air, and I learnt that a lot. So that was good. Again, things that I learnt in this race as well that I can transfer on as someone spins. We can learn and transfer a lot of these skills on to the next races. There's a long way to go. We've got 5 more weeks, 10 more races to go, and it's not all over. It's only the first races, and we can really make some progress going forward. I'm sure we will make more progress as the races go on, tick by, because that's kind of what I want to do. But we're behind with Bismarck now. I'm putting a little bit of pressure on him. We're in P6 with half distance to go. I think we pit very soon in the next couple of laps, a couple of minutes or so. But I was really happy. The pace was strong, consistency was there, running in the dirty air, and it was all coming together. I was really happy. I think this race I was much more comfortable with, and it felt like I made a step forward from the first race and understood more what I needed to do. And these races I kind of needed doing, because in practice you can't really simulate these things. You can't simulate dirty air as much because sometimes you're more spread out. And there's not as many of you in a practice session, but here I could just I learned a decent amount and how the car performs in the dirty air, and it was good I could transfer these on forward, and it was a good learning experience. That's all I could gain from it as we're in P5 right now. Weber's was making mistakes at this point. I was racing him at this stage of the race. Well, I wasn't racing him because I think he was a pit stop ahead of me. But you can see him being a pit stop ahead of me and doing what he did. I think he perhaps just changed tyres, and it kind of put me in a position. Here, I'm just going to come into the pits. I think next lap for basically a touch and dash. These soft tyres could go to the end easy, so I didn't choose to change tyres this time. I just put on a set of fuel as we request a pit stop and the wipers go. The D-pad on the G920 is very basically. So I kind of made the mistakes. I turned them off again. I was fiddling around trying to turn them off. But moving on to the end of this lap, coming into the pits, and it was pretty good for me. It felt really good. It was really strong. We're doing a really good job in terms of consistency, boxing it in, and then just going on, watching on forward. We're in P6, and this is basically where we were for the rest of the race. Really, there was nothing really changed. We kind of did get in the dirty air of Aid, and I think I was battling for P4. I was in P5 initially. I was behind him. He went off, and I followed him in, which was frustrating. And then I think I hit somebody as well, which was frustrating too. But I didn't get that on camera. I couldn't record it. But we're just continuing on and just learning. And we made a few mistakes in this race, but less mistakes than in race 1. And coming into the last chicane once again, I think this is actually our best lap of this race, I believe. As we come to the line, it might be one of our best laps of the race. Actually, I'm not entirely sure here. So 1 minute 1.922. Yeah, it's pretty good. So we're improving towards the end of the race now. I think now we're entering the last lap of the race. And again, just coming out of the result, P6 and P7 in both races are very good points, and that's the main thing. I'm sure this season it can only get better. This season it can't get worse. My driving can't get worse. My skill can't get worse. It can only get better. And to be at a standard where I'm changing top for Lobby A at this point in the season, on the wheel, which I've only had for 6 to 7 weeks, that's really good progress, and I take kind of satisfaction from that we're really, our pace is really there, and I'm just going to continue forward and try and push harder in the future. That's all I can do. But it's for the team. We're in a tight battle with TM. TM have got a really good lineup. But we need everybody in our team to perform as well as possible to be able to score big points and try and win this championship. Because I think we're all capable of doing it, and we're very, both myself, Burnout, Kieran, and Kevin and Callum, and Angus. We're all going to perform as much as we can. So going to the line now to finish the race. I think we did actually our personal best at the end of 1.18 in the end, so that's a good way to end the race there. We finished on the lead lap. Burnout won it. Congrats to him, did a job on both races, and yeah, really happy with that result. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like and subscribe for more racing content on this channel, and I'll see you for some more racing action in TORA next week. Thanks guys.